Okay, today's lecture is going to be on claims and your paper 1 structure. This first paper we're going to do is called an argumentative essay. And if at any time you would like to look up some examples of this, I encourage you to do so by typing in argumentative essay, just like it says here on my shared screen. There are plenty of them. So claims are going to be something that we look at, and they have to do with your thesis statement. Before you create a thesis statement, you should know what your claim is and if you have all the parts that are necessary. So a claim is something that you claim. It's something that you feel is provable, and you set forth as an item that you want to persuade the other side to believe. The grounds is the foundation or the basis for the claim. In other words, the support that you give for that claim. We'll look at some examples in just a minute. The warrant is the reasoning that authorizes the inferential leap from the grounds to the claim. So it's just a fancy way of saying, sort of, if there was a law that everyone persuading had to abide by, a law of logic, that would be the warrant. We'll give you an example of that in a few minutes as well. The backing is the support for the warrant. Stephen Toulmin is a famous English PhD writer, amazing thinker. He's won many awards, and Stephen Toulmin has done a lot to create a model for us as writers to follow logic when writing something and trying to convince or persuade the other side to agree with your thesis statement. So again, his name is Stephen Toulmin, and it says here Toulmin's model. Some people jokingly say he made a toolbox for us because his name is Toulmin, but it's not spelled that way, so I won't say it. Whoop, I already did. But this is a tested pattern of science used to convince and persuade. Remember, in here, we are professionals. This is not a class for people that want to learn to blabber more on social media, if you will, or just continue speaking to a wall. We want to speak to humans, and we want to convince those humans that our point of view is acceptable, and then it's up to them to accept it or not. The more logical we can make our point of view, and hence our thesis statement, and hence our paper, then the better we'll do at convincing the other side. Let's look at Toulmin's model.
The Toulmin method is a tool for analyzing and crafting arguments developed by the philosopher Stephen Toulmin. To help you see all the benefits of this method, here's the Toulmin Toolman to show you how it works. Each of the tools on his tool belt is essential for developing a strong argument: claim, grounds, warrant, backing, qualifier, and rebuttal. Let's start with the primary tool, the claim. This is the assertion or thesis that the writer proposes, serving as the main expression of the argument. An example of a claim would be, "Dogs are the greatest pets." While the justification is not yet included, you can clearly see the writer's viewpoint that will direct the argument. To grant this argument some validity, the Toolman toolman will use his next tool, the grounds, which serve as the argument's foundation, justifying the main viewpoint of the argument. For example, a great pet is intelligent, obedient, and loving. This statement.
Okay, so right there is a very important point. You have to develop what grounds are needed through a warrant. Warrant. Write that down or remember it somehow, because the warrant is what you need to come up with before you decide what your thesis statement will be, which will be a claim. But there is a rule to a claim that you have to come up with. If you can't come up with that rule, then you shouldn't be doing that thesis statement. You shouldn't be making that claim. So they're talking about a dog. They're saying the dog is the best pet. Well, cool. That's what you're saying. Then you're going to have to set up a warrant where if three things are present, for example, there's three things here, then therefore it's reasonable to conclude that it's true what the claim is. Let's keep going.
Statement establishes the qualities that would describe a great pet. However, it is not yet directly connected to the claim concerning dogs. This is where the warrant comes in. This tool serves as the connective tissue between the claim and the grounds, whether stated directly or simply implied. For example, to link back to the claim of dogs as the greatest pets, we can add, dogs are perceptive, easily trained, and one of the most affectionate animals towards humans. Now we have.
Okay, so why did they pick those things? Because those are what's needed, and then the grounds will fill in. And we will show that all that is needed is here. So therefore our claim is correct.
We have linked our claim about dogs to the grounds on what makes a great pet. Any additional evidence used to support the claim is considered the backing. For example, these traits are why dogs are the most widely used service animals. While this statement may not be enough justification on its own, it serves well in conjunction with the warrant and grounds. Few claims are true in all circumstances. A qualifier allows for special cases and helps establish the author as reasonable.
Qualifier is really good and really helpful, but it's not going to be required on this paper. So enjoy it and look toward the future, but you don't need to worry about the qualifier.
And credible. In this argument, the grounds can be edited with a qualifier to allow for cases in which some dogs don't match the criteria of the greatest pet as stated in the claim. Dogs are typically perceptive, easily trained, etc. The qualifier typically adds credibility to the argument as it acknowledges special cases contrary to the argument.
Usually, most of the time, at times, most people agree. These are all qualifiers.
Argument's claim. Lastly, it serves well to acknowledge another side of the argument to establish the writer.
This is very important, the rebuttal. I'm only going to require you to do this on one paragraph or one part of your thesis, or there's three parts, which we'll get into in a minute. But for one of them, you're going to be doing a rebuttal, which means I've talked to a few of you about this in my personal communications, either through email or I've been making videos for you to reply to some of your thesis. You need to be able to imagine that you are on the other side. For in this case, possibly someone that was bit by a dog, or someone that just doesn't like dogs and would never want them to be a good pet. That's the one you bring in right here. You adopt the mindset of the other side and you say, dogs are not the greatest pets. Let me tell you why. Then you take that idea that they might say, and how do you get this idea? I was talking to somebody about abortion the other day. Talk to women. Ask women, not just women on your side, but women on the other side that maybe have a more pro-choice stance or pro-life stance, depending on what side you're on. Interview people, talk to people, send emails to people in your family, talk to people at home about it, interview them. You don't have to embarrass anybody and say that they've had an abortion, etc. But find the other side's point of view. That's going to be your rebuttal, which you yourself are going to answer. So you're setting up a rebuttal, and then you're handling that rebuttal. You get to choose the rebuttal. But the more effective the rebuttal, the more effective your answer to the rebuttal will be to the reader, who theoretically has that point of view that is a rebuttal. I'll give some examples in a minute, but look at this example.
As unbiased and open-minded. An acknowledgement in the form of a rebuttal persuades readers who disagree with the claim to follow suit and accept an unbiased perspective. Here,
let me just stop before we go into this final part, which is really good, and I think it'll really help you. If you don't have a rebuttal, why are you writing an argumentative essay? Why are you trying to persuade anyone? It's very common for new writers, at least in college, academic style writers, to leave out the rebuttal and basically just say, here's how it is. Can't you believe this? Isn't this amazing? Aren't you horrified by this? Whatever the topic is. Dogs are the best pets, boom, 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 and that's it. And everybody's supposed to believe that. Some will, but the people that will believe it, it's like you're preaching to the converted. They already have your point of view, and that's not why we're here. A little bit we are. Sometimes it's relevant to write something that everybody agrees with, but that's not academic writing. Academic writing seeks to understand the other point of view and then use things in that point of view to get the point across that usually is the opposite point of view. Sometimes it's just a gradient different, but other times it's the complete opposite, like pro-life, pro-choice, death penalty, no death penalty, life in prison, or some other alternative.
For example, while some may argue cats can also be affectionate and obedient, they are still more difficult to train than dogs. Now we have acknowledged that dogs.
Okay, I'm going to play that again. Some may argue. That's the rebuttal. If you want, since it's the first paper, if you want to use that, some may argue, go for it. It's a great way to show you're acknowledging the other side. And that's what I want to see. But there's many ways to do it. You can look up examples of rebuttals, language that people use. I gave several examples earlier. That's another example that's great if you want to use it, or you can come up with your own. But you have to have some kind of phrase or statement that shows me that other people think differently. And then after you do that, after you state that, then you try to take it down and explain why that's not a valid way to think. Now, you can be polite about it or you can be harsh about it, but what you want to do mostly is examine your audience and see how you would deal with them if they have a different point of view.
Dogs are not the only animals that can be good pets, without contradicting our earlier claim that dogs are the greatest pets. As you can see, we have now constructed a strong, unbiased, and complete argument that would.
Now I'm going to include this slideshow so you can bring this up on your own. But if you look at this right here, this is pretty amazing because this shows you exactly how to orchestrate your whole paper right here.
Make even the most adamant cat owners consider the quality of dogs. But, to be fair, who would ever dispute man's best friend? For more information on persuasive writing or...
Okay, that was excellent. We're going to go to the next slide now. Okay, here's the fun part. These are some argument examples. And I have found that showing my students examples is one of the best ways for them to create their own. Now, let's not create them exactly, but let's look at how they formulate their paper, and then you can start thinking about how you're going to formulate your own. And before we meet again on Wednesday, you're going to come up with a thesis statement, send it to me, and we're going to start working with it. Okay. So please pay attention to these examples and make sure that yours has all the stuff in the rubric that I'm going to give you before we finish today. Okay, this is a classic model for an argument. No one structure fits all written arguments. That's good to know. So we're actually encouraging you to be different in the way you approach things. However, you have to follow a certain line of reasoning that makes it logical, that has the claim, that has the warrant, that has the grounds. Okay, you have to have those things. And again, these things are all over the internet. I've given you some stuff that will be up in Canvas to look at, but beyond that, feel free to look around more. If you're not sure about a claim and a backing, type it in a search. You'll get lots of examples. So this says no one structure fits. There are many. However, most college courses, including this one, consist of the following elements. Okay, so let's look through them. First, we've got the introductory paragraph. I'm going to go ahead and assume that what you've been doing in high school will probably work for this, but the difference is it's got to have a thesis statement that I approve. And when I say I approve it, that means it has to have a claim that has grounds and warrants, which we will talk about how to do that. But be thinking about it now, because an introductory paragraph is just not a gimme. It has to be formed around a thesis statement that is logical, because this is college writing where you're not just trying to show what you know about something. You're trying to do that, but also bring in the other side, try to convince them, and then let them go, see what they do. It's actually very exciting. And that's why I love writing so much, is because I try to do that with everything I write pretty much. You're always trying to convince someone of something, whether it's a movie you liked and why they should like it too, or why the certain types of people that would like it. That's all persuasion. Sometimes you're going to be writing things about how to do things, how to fix things, how to clean things, who knows what. But you're going to have to do it logically. And that's what this class is all about. And you're going to walk away from here with new tools to do that. So first you got your thesis, and I want you to take a look at this. Your thesis states what your position on an issue is. It usually appears at the end of the introduction. So you'll have a nice introductory paragraph, and right at the end, before you go to your first body paragraph, right there, you're going to have that thesis. It should be clearly stated for this paper and often contains emphatic language like should, ought, must. So it is okay to be opinionated in your thesis. But when you're presenting your three parts, because remember, there's going to be the power of three in this one. You got to have three reasons why you say something is true. And that's going to be your claim. Here's a sample. Very appropriate, since we just saw a 17-year-old in the news kill, it was either 3 people or 2 people. I think it was 3. It killed 3 people in the riots, feeling he was doing the right thing. Many people encouraged him, told him he was doing the right thing. We even have, I forget who it was, because I don't really follow sports that much, believe it or not. I'm a guy, but I don't follow sports. Sometimes I do, though. But anyway, so this sports figure said, and I saw the article today, that he's an American treasure for killing those 3 people. I don't know. I think he was a baseball player. Anyway, some of you probably heard the story. I don't know if that's true, but you could write a paper saying he's an American treasure and then explain why. Because American treasures with guns do boom, boom, and boom. And if you can prove all those 3 things and do a rebuttal in the middle, which we'll learn about where in just a second, then that would be a good persuasive paper. you're going to have to really work hard to convince the other side because we've got real hot opinions on both sides. Might be better to take a smaller subject like vigilante justice has its place, but assault weapons make it no, they zero out their place. And when assault weapons are used, it's not even helpful. Something like that. That way you wouldn't word it like that. I kind of was thinking out loud, but that's the way you think of things, like something more people would agree with. I think a small chunk of people, not necessarily small, but compared to the whole population, a small chunk would probably agree that this shooter who was 17 years old is an American treasure. But how do you make more people accept it? That's what you're going to have to do by putting qualifiers in. I'm not going to require them, but they do help when you're trying to prove something, make it more universal. Like most people would agree vigilante justice, specifically guns, has a place. And then you explain those three things, why it has a place, you might have a better chance with that. Trying to convince people even comes down to the small level, tiny, minute level of breaking it down into words. Some words that you won't use, some words that you should use because they make people like safety. A lot of people want to feel safe, so they get guns. I'm going to stop there. I don't want to get into a whole lot of detail, but I think some of you are getting an idea of what we need to do here. So when we get to the outline part, that will be more getting on your way toward your paper. And please do not start your paper yet. I know I've had that question a couple times at least by different students saying, can I start my paper? If you want to, but you're already learning things today you've never heard, I'm willing to bet. So you're going to have to redo stuff based on what I'm showing you, not only today, but in our next class Wednesday meeting. So, it just cool your jets. That's what I would say. Cool your jets. Listen, do, turn in, and then do it again. And that's what this class is going to be about. It's not about trying to see how much you can show me that you can write right now with run-on sentences and all the problems that I've already seen in a lot of papers. Just cool your jets. Listen to this stuff. This is what I'm grading on right now, not full paper. So don't write your full paper. Don't be so anxious to finish your paper because you hate it so much that you turn in a bad paper. That's not a solution. Okay, that's just something I learned through years of college, so I share it with you. Inch by inch. Think of a little snail cruising or a slug. Here's the slug. They go real slow. Inch by inch, life's a cinch. Inch by inch, college is a cinch. Okay? Inch by inch, guys. Don't be so eager to be done. I talked about that last time, and I told you I'm not going to reveal the whole semester right away because people are just jumping on it, want to get it done immediately, and they're not learning the things they need to learn and then showing me they learned it. That's what this class is about. Not showing me what you've learned up to now. Otherwise, why would they need to hire me? So we're a different level now. We're a different tier. Please listen to the different tier and then show me you heard it. That's what grading is about. Okay, so we talked about the sample thesis. The production, sale, and possession of assault weapons for private citizens should be banned in the U.S. That's a pretty huge thesis statement. I'm not sure that I would coach someone to work with that, but you could do it. It's just a really big undertaking. Do you think that there's people out there now in agreement that assault weapons for private citizens should be banned? Well, probably, but there's a huge group that thinks they should still have them. So you're kind of taking on a huge thing there. You might want to make it more minuscule or small, or just, I'm going to prove that assault weapons kill people in their own homes. That would be I think that'd be a better thesis. And then you give 3 examples, 3 ways that it happens. One of them you present the other side, and then you attack that. There you go. I hope you're getting it. Hope you're starting to get it. So what they give for the body of their argument, which it's like a hamburger, picture a hamburger. Here's the bun on top, here's the bun on bottom. You've got your introductory paragraph, then you've got your 3 sections, which will be longer than a paragraph. 3 sections. Then you have your bottom paragraph that's just one paragraph. We call that the concluding paragraph. As you can see, it's where you wrap up everything and then you restate your thesis from the top. I just pretended I was a hamburger. I hope you enjoyed that. Okay, so you give evidence. There's so much here, and I want you guys to go through this, so I will link it. Okay. So here's another claim. And they're basically having a claim for each body paragraph. So that's for proving it. What kind of evidence do you need? Well, you have to say the claim first. Like for 2 here, it says, the ban on assault weapons is backed heavily by public opinion, major organizations, and even law enforcement. Okay, that's your claim. But what's the evidence? Well, you got to show all those things that you just set up, that you just said, and then they do. But I mean, if you honestly, you out there, this is just a video, so there's nobody else watching. Think about in your head what your position on guns and assault weapons is. Think about that. I'm thinking about mine. Okay. Would this be enough for you? Because they're talking about banning things. So if you were someone that wanted things banned, would this be enough? Probably, but it's preaching to the converted. It's preaching to the people that already agree with that. You want to reach out to the people who think having their own assault weapons is a must, should be legal. It's a violation of their Second Amendment rights. You're going to hear that a lot. Already have heard that a lot with the current election going on. So you need to actually be a big thinker, not a tiny thinker that just agrees with everything, not a yes man or woman, but somebody that's big, has a big mind and can open their mind up to different ideas. That's what this class and this paper is about. So, what does everybody hate? Everybody hates when their own family gets shot. Okay, so focus on that. Give me examples in your research of kids that have opened the door holding fake guns and the cops have shot them. That happened in California. I want to say about 93. I remember reading about it. A kid opened the door. He had a fake gun. The cops told him to put it down. He didn't, so they shot the kid. He was a little kid. He's like 5 years old. And the kid died. So, we got stories to prove everything, but that'd be one you could use. I'm sure you can find others if you want to argue that way. If you want to argue for it, it's pretty obvious when you look at the 17-year-old in the news recently. I mean, he probably had stuff that he wanted to protect, his stores, his Target, his home, his things in his home. So for him, having that assault rifle is protecting his stuff. And you can talk about that. But did he need to kill 3 people? That's a whole different argument. If you want to do that, you got a big job ahead of you. I would pick the more boring topic, like it can take a lifetime to gather stuff and buy stuff and buy a home. And most insurance companies will not pay for a home that's burned down. I don't know if they will or not, but these are things that you'd pick up and you'd say, for that reason, I need an assault rifle. I don't think it's the best argument in the world, but it's getting closer. It's making it smaller and easier to get there. You can't just, the way we do in our society today, and I see it all the time, it's not everybody, but especially on social media and stuff, everybody just wants to shout the other person down. Oh, that's wrong. I need my assault rifle. You're crazy. You're in the deep state. You're a Democrat, whatever. They say all kinds of things. And the Republicans, they do the same thing back. They say this whole world's falling apart because of Democrats. And so it's just, it's a tough time for logic. It really is. But in this class, you'll be one of the people that can actually think logically. And that doesn't mean you're on one side or the other. I hope I've made that clear. But you will make your position stronger because it's more logical. And I guess the way that I feel like it's moral to teach that way is because a lot of the stuff that isn't logical won't be used and it'll be taken out because it doesn't make sense. And so therefore we have better arguments dealing with the things that we can convince people of instead of the things that we are already opposed to. Okay, so addressing the other side, that would be the last paragraph of the body, or the last section of the body. And in there, you would address the other side. You say, well, some people say that if we take away the assault rifles, the regular rifles won't be able to shoot as many people, and that's not good. I'm trying to come up with a solution for which I am the other side. So it's very difficult. But if I really was going to write this paper, I'd do a lot of reading, guys. I do a lot of watching. Like, for example, if you watch Fox News, maybe go watch CNN for a little while and get that point of view. If you're on CNN, then go over to Fox News and watch that for a little while. But really try to look for the good and try to look for the good arguments. And those are the ones that you'll take and you'll say, this is a good argument. A lot of people say it, but let me tell you why it doesn't work. Boom. That'd be a great way. Great way for you to do your opposing side argument. Okay, very good. Let's go to 2 here. Okay, here, this is another example I want you guys to just take a look at. Maybe this will stick more than the other one we just did, but it's got the basic same thing. Evidence, types of evidence. So take a look at this one, but I'm not going to go through it. Let's look at 3, the last one. Okay, this is a way that you can actually start to plan out your paper. Because if you see number 1, that's an introduction, 1 paragraph. 2, 3, and 4 are all body paragraphs that may be several. I keep saying paragraphs. Body sections that will have multiple paragraphs in each one. So this is a really good one if you want something simple to make your outline by. We are not going to have an outline due on Wednesday, but we are going to have to get me an updated thesis statement from those of you that turned it in, which I appreciated that. It was most people. If you didn't, let's get going on that, guys. You got to turn the stuff in, because what's going to happen is pretty soon your grades are going to be harder to change. Right now, like if you're getting like a D and then you turn something in, it can shoot up to an A. But as you get more points in the equation, it's harder to move that needle. It's harder to move that grade up or down. So stay on top of things. That's my best advice to you. I will fail you if you do not have enough points to make a passing grade. So make sure you're always looking at your grades. They're in there in Canvas. Everything I put in there is there, so you can always follow it. And of course, if I've made a mistake, that's not a problem. We will together work that out quickly. But more often than not, it's people that don't turn in things on time, and I just can't give you points for that anymore. Okay, unless you have an amazing excuse, which I doubt you will. I will not be giving points for late work. Okay, so there you go. All right, so this is 3 pages long. It's really an amazing way to do it, kind of a check box to see how you did. And this is what I will use to grade your paper. I'm going to have probably my own, but this one is really good right here. Okay, this is where you edit your own essay. It says, do you have a hook? Check the hook. If you have a text summary, check the text summary. But you pick one to do your introduction. Okay. All I want be due tonight at midnight. Actually, yeah, I will give you another day to do it. I'll make it due. That will start Monday, so it'll be Tuesday at midnight. So I'm going to make the due date Tuesday at midnight for you to fill in the text box that you're going to see. You're going to do the discussion question, and then also tell me what your thesis statement is for this paper. So process all this stuff, do some research of your own about argumentative essays, but you don't have to make the outline yet. I'm going to get into exactly, explicitly how to do that on Wednesday, in Wednesday's lecture. But for this, I want you to be thinking about the thesis statement and your topic. Like, what is your topic? Okay. After you have done research on your own, after you have looked at the materials that I've given you, after you have gone on the internet for any questions you might have about a logical argumentative essay research paper, then and only then, please contact me, and then I will be happy to help you. Okay, this is me signing out. Make sure you get that thesis statement turned in when Canvas says it's on time.